Hey guys, so today we're going to be looking at day 4 of acing the algebra EOC or STAAR. We're going to be looking at a few things today. The first one is the distributive property. And with the distributive property, we are going to be looking at things inside of a parentheses. Most of the time there's a number out front. And the parentheses tell us to distribute or multiply. So distribute / multiply. And we are going to be simplifying the following 5 expressions. So for number 1, we're going to be taking the 5 and distribute it to both the x and the negative 7. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. We don't have to do anything else to this problem. We simply just wanted to get rid of the parentheses. For number 2, we have a 6 out front, so I have 6 times 2x squared, which is 12x squared. 6 times x is positive 6x, and 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. For number 3, I have a negative 4 out front, so not only is the numbers going to change, but their signs are going to change as well. So negative 4 times 7 gives us a negative 28x squared. Negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20x. And negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8. Again, all we are doing is simply distributing the number that is on the outside. For number 4, I don't really see a number there, but I do see a negative sign. And what this represents is a negative 1. So there is a negative 1 out front, so all it's going to do is flip the signs. So whatever is positive will become negative, and negative becomes positive. So we have negative 10x minus 3y. And finally, number 5, we have a 2 out front. So I'm going to distribute the 2. We have 18a squared minus 8b plus 16c. And that's all we would do for number 5. So the next thing we are going to be looking at is combining like terms. So we need to remember our order of operations here. So we need to distribute first, which means we need to multiply. And then we are going to combine like terms. And we combine like terms using addition or subtraction. And in order to combine like terms, they need to have 2 things. They need to have the same variables and the same exponent. So they have to match exactly for us to be able to combine them. So if we look at number 1, we're dealing with both variables and plain numbers, which are constants. And when we combine these, we have 2a plus a negative 5, so 2 plus a negative 5, that gives us negative 3a. And then I have positive 7 plus 10, which is positive 17. Again, we are just combining these if they look alike. For number 2, I have different variables and some numbers. So I'm going to look for my x squareds first. Again, your variable needs to match along with your exponent. So they both have an x, and they both have an exponent of 2. The one up front, the plain x squared, that is a 1. So 1 plus 2 gives us 3x squared. Then I would look for the next smallest variable. In this case, it is just a plain positive 4x. There's no other x's in the problem, so I just carry it on over. It's just tagging along. And then finally I have my plain numbers, so positive 3 and negative 6 gives us negative 3. And that would be the final answer for this problem. Alright, so for number 3, we've got to do a little bit of work. We have to distribute first, then we can combine. So we have to get rid of the parentheses by distributing the negative 5. And that leaves us with negative 5x minus 30 minus 10y. And then that negative 3 at the end just follows on over. And then we can combine like terms. So I'm going to start with my x. I always like to go in alphabetical order. So negative 5x, nothing, there's no other x there, so I just bring it down. And then I look at my negative 10y, no other y's, so I also bring that down. And then I combine my numbers, so negative 30 minus 3 gives us negative 33. And that would be our final answer. We would do the same thing for number 4. We got to distribute first. So I have 3 times 7x, it gives us 21x. And 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And since there's just a plus sign out front of the second parentheses, everything just comes on over. So we have a positive x and a negative 8. And then we can combine. When we combine these, I'm combining my x's first. So 21 plus 1 is 22x. And then negative 12 minus 8 is negative 20. That would be our final answer. So for number 5, there's nothing out front of that first set of parentheses, so I just drop it down. So we have 7r squared minus 5r plus 2. And then for the second set, I'm going to distribute a negative 1. Again, all that does is flip the signs. So that would give us a negative 5r squared plus 3r plus 9. Again, I distributed the negative 1 to the 3 terms in the parentheses. And then we combine like terms. So I'm starting with my r squareds. We have a 7r minus 5r, so 7 minus 5 is 2r squared. Then I have a negative 5r that I can combine with positive 3, which leaves us with negative 2r. And then positive 2 plus 9 gives us positive 11. And that would be our final answer. For the third thing that we're looking at today, we're looking at adding and subtracting polynomials. So essentially what we're going to be doing is combining the first 2 things that we looked at, distributing and combining like terms, and doing it all together. So again, adding and subtracting polynomials is simply combining like terms. And we need to pay attention because there will be a plus or a minus between the set of parentheses. And this tells us what we need to do. Of course, I like getting rid of the parentheses first. It just makes it a little bit easier. So for number 1, we have to get rid of the parentheses. We got to distribute a negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x squared. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15x. Negative 3 times negative 7 is positive 21. And because there is just a plus sign outside of that second set, I just bring them down. That positive 1 is not going to change the sign, and it's not going to change the number either. Once we do this, we can combine like terms. So I have negative 6x plus 3x squared, which leaves us with negative 3x squared. Then I have negative 15x, and there's no other x in the problem, so I just bring it down. And then I have 21 minus 10, which is positive 11. And that would be our final answer. And for the last problem on this page, it looks like I have a subtraction sign in the middle. So we're going to remove everything from the parentheses first, and then we'll combine. In that first set of parentheses, there's no number there, so I can just drop everything down. And then in that second set of parentheses, there's technically a negative 1 out front, which will change the signs and give us a negative x squared minus 6x plus 4. Again, we just flip the signs. Now I can combine, so 5 minus 1x squared gives us 4x squared. A positive 6 minus 6, that leaves us with just 0x, because 6 minus 6 is 0. So they cancel out. They disappear. The variable does not stay. I cannot have a 0x. Not possible. Because anything times 0 is 0, even a variable. And finally, we have negative 8 plus 4, which is negative 4. So this right here would be my final answer. Moving on to the next page. And we're going to be solving equations and inequalities with one variable on both sides. So let's go over the steps for solving an equation. So step 1, we need to use the distributive property to get rid of parentheses. So we're using this distributive property to get rid of parentheses. Step 2, we need to combine like terms. So combine like terms separately on both sides of the equal sign. So I'm going to combine everything on the left. That can be combined, and then we look to see if anything on the right side can be combined. The next thing that we're going to do is we want our letters or variables. I want to move those to the left by doing the opposite or the inverse operation. And then I want my numbers or constants to the right. Again, by doing the opposite or the inverse. And finally, to get x, or to get our letter, so to get variable alone. So to get our variable alone, we are going to do the opposite, which is multiply or divide. 9 times out of 10, we will be dividing. And then we can check our solution by plugging it back in. Or evaluating. So, Let's go ahead and look at number 1, going back up to the top. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do so you can finish writing the steps down. But in number 1, I don't see any parentheses, so I don't have to distribute. And then if I draw my line, so we're drawing our line down the middle, I can't combine an x with a 21. They're not the same. I can't combine them. Neither is a 5x or a 3. Those are not the same, so I can't combine them. So now I'm going to skip down to moving all of my letters to the left, numbers to the right. So remember, your letters go on the left, L and L, letters on left. And I look and see if we look at the right side of the equation, so where the 5x and the 3 are at, the x is on the wrong side. So the only way that I can move a negative x is by adding it. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Again, I'm doing the opposite. When we do this, we're left with negative 2x plus 21 equals positive 3. So now all of my letters are on the left. I need to move my numbers to the right. So I need to move that positive 21 to the other side of the line. And when I cross the line, I change the sign. So I subtract 21 from both sides. When we do this, I have negative 2x equals 3 minus 21 is going to give us a negative 18. So my final step in getting x by itself is going to be to divide. All of my letters are on the left, numbers are on the right. So I have to divide or separate the negative 2 from the x. And the only way to do that is using division. So when I divide, I'm left with x equals negative 18 divided by negative 2 is positive 9. And again, I could check this solution. So I can check this by plugging negative 9 back in. So I'm going to take my x, my 9, plug it in. So 7 times 9 plus 21 should equal negative 5 times 9 plus 3. So when I solve this, let's see what we get. Negative 7 times 9, that's negative 63. We need to add 21. And that equals negative 42. I'm going to double check my work just to make sure that that number is correct. So we had negative 63 plus 21, and it does equal negative 42. So that means over here on the other side, we should get negative 42 as well. So negative 5 times 9 is negative 45 plus 3, which is negative 42. So that is the correct answer. Let's look at number 2. So number 2, we have which value of x makes the following equation true? Starting with step 1, we got to get rid of parentheses. So I need to multiply 1/2 times 12 and 1/2 times 14. So half of 12 leaves us with 6. Half of negative 14 is negative 7x. And then I bring down my leftovers. Draw your line. There's nothing that can be combined on either side, so I need to move my letters to the left, numbers to the right. So the letter that needs to be moved to the left is going to be -7, so we add it. When we add 7x, we're left with 8x minus 5 equals 6. Then I'm going to add 5. Again, we're moving our numbers to the right, which leaves us with 8x equals 11. Final step is to divide by 8. And I'm going to leave this as a fraction, so x equals 11 over 8. If you want to plug that back in and check, you may do so. So for 3 and 4, we have some special cases. So let's go ahead and solve these and figure out what's so special about them. So for number 3, we need to start off by getting rid of the parentheses. So I need 0.75 times 8. So because that's a decimal, I'm going to use my calculator. So 0.75 times 8. That is 6. So we have 6x. And then I need 0.75 times -4, which is -3. So on the left side, we should have 6x minus 3. And I'm going to bring down my leftovers. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is draw my line, letters to the left, numbers to the right. So I need to start off by moving the -6x to the other side. So subtract 6x on both sides, and we're left with -3 equals +5. But if I think about this statement, -3 cannot equal +5. They are not the same number. So whenever we get this type of answer, it falls under the category of no solution, which is a special case. That means no matter what number we choose, if I plug it back into this equation, it will not equal each other. So let's look at number 4. And again, I'm going to start off by distributing. So 1/3 of 9 is 3, and 1/3 of -15x is -5x. Bring down your leftovers. And by now you can probably see that the left side equals the right side, but we're going to follow through and answer the rest of this question. So again, I need to move my letters to the left, so I'm going to add 5x to both sides. And we get +3 equals +3. 3 does equal 3, so this is a true statement, which means my answer is all real numbers. So the left has to equal the right in order for your solution to be all real numbers. So let's take a look at solving inequalities, and then we'll be done with this video. So there's one thing that we need to remember when solving inequalities. And we're going to be using the same steps for solving equations, except if we divide by a negative, hold on. So if we divide by a negative, the sign flips. My inequality symbol is going to flip. I'm going to abbreviate inequality symbol flips. So let's look at number 1. And again, I have to start off by distributing a positive 3. So we get 3n minus 12. So 3n minus 12. Bring down your leftovers. So again, I still want my letters on the left, numbers on the right. So I'm going to start off by subtracting 3n from both sides. This leaves us with 6n plus 6 less than negative 12. Move our numbers to the right, so subtract 6 from both sides, and we're left with 6n less than negative 18. Our final step is to divide. So divide by 6 on both sides, and n should be less than negative 3. So I didn't have to flip my inequality symbol for this problem because I did not divide by a negative. Let's look at number 2. Again, we're going to start off by distributing, and we're left with 2x plus 3 less than or equal to 5x minus 6. Go ahead and draw your line. And I still want my letters to the left, numbers to the right. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. You have negative 3x plus 3 less than or equal to negative 6. Then I subtract 3 from both sides. When we do this, we're left with negative 3x less than or equal to negative 9. And finally, I have to divide by a negative 3. Because we divided by a negative, your inequality symbol becomes greater than or equal to. So negative 3 and negative 3 leaves us with x. And then negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3. So that would be our final answer. So again, because we divided by a negative, our inequality symbol flipped. That is all I have for today. I hope to see you in the next one.